Hello all, welcome to my stream. This is Jay Coder here. We're going to be going over an Android tutorial where we will be adding an image to our project. So this is definitely for beginners, and I think this will be the best for you guys that are, just starting out and wanting to be able to learn more about Android development and Android Studio in general. So we did a little project yesterday where we put some text views in, or I'm sorry, last time we put some text views in our application, and we're going to add to that. It was a birthday card application. We're going to add to that by adding a nice image to that as well. And I want to welcome you guys here. Subscribe for more. And all right, let's actually get right into it. Let me go ahead and mute the music. And I welcome you all here again, and I hope you're having a good day so far. All right. So, like usual, I'm going to go to the code lab here, and I'm going to go ahead and post this code lab in the chat so people can also follow along by entering the link here. Let me go ahead and copy this link, and I'm going to post it in the chat, and I also post it in the description for anyone who watches later. They can also follow along. So I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat here for you all. Alright, so that's the link to the code lab. And alright, let's go ahead and get started here. So, 1. Introduction. In this code lab, you will learn how to add images to your app using an image view. Prerequisites. How to create and run a new app in Android Studio. How to add and remove and set attributes on text views using the layout editor, which we did in the last stream. And what you'll learn today is how to add an image or photo to your Android app, how to display an image in your app using an image view, how to extract text into a string resource to make it easier to translate your app and to reuse strings, how to make your app usable for the largest number of people, which those are all very useful things. What you'll build. Extend the Happy Birthday app to add an image. What you need: a computer with Android Studio installed, the app from the Create a Birthday Code Lab, and hopefully you guys followed me when we created that. And if you haven't, I encourage you to go back and watch that video. But if you have not, you can actually go ahead and download the solution code from the project that the code that you need already in order to continue this code lab here. So it says open your project from the previous collab in Android Studio, which I already have on my machine, and you can use the solution code or the code you created when you run the app. It should look like this. So alright, here's the link to the solution code, and I'm going to also go ahead and post this link in the chat for anyone who wants to download that solution code to follow along with us here today. So let me go ahead and do that. So, alright, I posted that in the chat, and the above link is the solution code to the previous code lab required for this code lab today. Alright, perfect. Alright, let's go back to our lesson here. And so as you can see, it looked like this. when we built it. I actually have it here in my Android Studio, and I have it here. It's actually it's actually here in the Android Studio. I can also run it to show you guys, but there's no need right now actually. So let's go ahead and go on. And it says, add an image to your project. In this task, you'll download an image from the internet and add it to your Happy Birthday app. Click here to access the image for your birthday card on GitHub. So, so it wants us to actually download a specific image. So the specific image is going to be here. I'm going to actually also post this link in the app and the description later so that you guys can also have the links to follow along. I want to make it very convenient for you guys so that you won't have to search around for everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and post that in the chat, and I'm gonna say the above link is the required image that required image download link. Alright, so I'm gonna put that here, and then I'm gonna go back over here, and then alright, and so it wants us to go ahead and download this. I actually downloaded it myself, but you can go ahead and press this button right here, and boom, it actually downloads in right here, probably to your downloads folder or whatever folder you have set there. All right, now let's now that we have downloaded the image, let's go ahead and follow the next step. The next steps here. Let me go ahead and close these things. All right. It says click the download button on the right, and this displays the image by itself. Click on the image and save the file to your computer as Android party.png, which it's, I believe, yeah, it's already named that. And make note of where you saved it. For example, downloads. So in Android Studio, you're gonna click. So this is important. This is going to be the correct way for us to import our image into the project. I know in Android it can be a little convoluted just to put a simple image into the project, so please make sure you remember these steps so that you can do it correctly. In Android Studio, click on View Tool Windows Resource Manager in the menu or click on the Resource Manager tab to the left of the project window. So what we can do is we can go back to our Android Studio here, and it wanted us to go to the View menu and then go to the Tools and Windows, and then go to the Resource Manager, and then click on the Resource Manager, and then boom, it opens the Resource Manager pane here, and then we're going to go ahead and hit this plus, and then we're going to, it wanted us to go to Import Drawables. Then once we hit Import Drawables, we're going to go ahead and open the image that they wanted us to open. So I went ahead and did that. And so let's see what else it says. It says in the file browser, find the image file you downloaded and click open. Click next. Android Studio shows you a preview of the image. Click import. If the image has been imported successfully, Android Studio adds the image to your drawable list. This list includes all your images and icons for the app. You can now use the image in your app. Alright, so let's go back over here to our Android Studio, and then so we have the image here, and then it says to hit the import button. So I hit import, and so boom, the image is actually added here on the left pane, and is available to use in our app and in our project. So let's go back, and it says 10. Switch back to the project view by clicking View Tool Windows Project in the menu or the Project tab on the left side. Confirm the image is in the drawable folder of your app by expanding App Resources Drawable. So what it is saying there is, once we go back to our Android Studio, we can go back to our project tab here, and then okay, so this, remember, this is like our main Kotlin code here, our main function here. And so down here are our resource files. So this package is our resource package. And inside our resource package, there's a particular package called drawable. And then inside our drawable package, that's where you'll see the image that we just loaded. So it will appear like this. They should look very similar on your machine when you when you try it on your own there. So let's go ahead and go to next. And 3. Add an image view. In order to display an image in your app, it needs a place to be displayed. Just like you use a text view to display text, you can use an image view to display images. In this task, you'll add an image view to your app and set its image to the cupcake image you downloaded. Then you'll position it and adjust its size so it fills the screen. Add an image view and set its image. 1. In the project window, open Activity Main, App Resources Layout Activity main.xml. If you don't see the layout editor, click on the design mode button in the upper right corner. In the layout editor, go to the palette and drag an image to your app. Drop it near the center and not overlapping any of the text. The pick resource dialog opens. The dialog lists all the image resources available to your app. Notice the birthday image listed under drawable. A drawable resource. Okay, so alright, so what it wants us to do in layout editor, go to palette and drag an image view to your app. Drop it near the center, not overlapping any of the text. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here in my Android Studio. And then, so inside the layout, we have, remember, our text. And so it wants us to go ahead and go to this pane right here where you see our image view, one of our, like an image view widget. And then we're going to go ahead and drag that in near the center, like it was saying. And then inside here, we're going to go ahead and select our actual PNG that we imported into our project. Then I'm going to hit OK. And all right, so it added that to the project. Let me see here. So need to kind of move that up a little bit so that it doesn't interfere with this text down here. All right, so now it says A drawable resource is a general concept for a graphic that can be drawn to the screen. It includes images, bitmaps, icons, and many other types of drawn resources. In the pick a resource dialog, find the cake image in the drawable list, click the image, and then hit OK, which we've done. This adds the image to your app, but it's probably not in the right place and it doesn't fill the screen. You'll fix that in the next step. Position and size image view. 1. Click and drag the image view around the layout editor, and note as you drag, a pink rectangle appears around the app screen in the design view. The pink rectangle indicates the boundaries of the screen for positioning your image view. So, drop the image view so that the left and the right edges align with the pink rectangle. Android will snap the image to the edges when you when you are close. You'll take you'll take care of the top and bottom in a moment. So yeah, so that's what we have. It snaps to the side there, to the sides there. So we have the image view snap to the sides here. So all right, so it says it wants to take care of the top and bottom. So let's go ahead and go back to the lesson. And then it says views in a constraint layout need to have horizontal and vertical constraints to tell the constraint layout how to position them. You'll add those next. Note, a constraint in the context of the layout editor represents a connection or alignment of a view to another view. The parent layout or an invisible guideline, for example, a view can be constrained to be a certain distance from the edge of the container, or always be to the right of another view, or always the top view inside a container. 3. Hold the pointer over the circle at the top of the outline of the image view and it highlights with another circle. Drag the circle towards the top of the app screen, and an arrow connects the circle to your pointer as you are dragging. Drag until it snaps to the top of the screen. You've added a constraint from the top of the image view to the top of the constraint layout. So, what it wants us to do is, let's see, so it wants us to, for the image that we have here, let me see. So the image that it has here, it wants us to go ahead and snap it there, then drag this guy to the top like that. Alright, so we have done that. To drag that this circle, and then drag the pointer to the top of the screen, and then add a constraint add a constraint from the bottom of the image view to the bottom of the constraint layout. It may be too close to the edge to drag as you did for the top. In this case, you can click the plus in the constraint widget in the attributes window to add to add a constraint. Make sure the margin is 0. So adding constraints can be more difficult as you add more views on the screen. If you add a constraint to the wrong view, you can undo the step with Ctrl Z or Command Z on a Mac, or right click on the view, which will pop up a menu, and choose Clear Constraints of Selection, which will remove all the constraints on that view. So let's see. So it wants us to go to our app here, and it wants us to go ahead and add a constraint here. Let me see here. So we have our image view selected, and then I have some text there. So okay, this is the pane, the attributes pane. Make sure you don't have anything on search here, or it might not show up. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a constraint to the bottom there, and so it's gonna be bottom to the bottom of the parent. All right, so we've done that, and this constraint is 0. The image is now centered, but it isn't taking the whole screen yet. You'll fix that in the next steps. Below the constraint widget in the constraints section, set the layout underscore width to 0 dp. Match constraint. 0 dp is shorthand to tell Android to use match constraint for the width of the image view because of constraints you just added. This makes it as wide as the constraint layout minus any margins. Set the layout height to 0 dp because of the constraints you added. This makes the image view as tall as the constraint layout minus any margins. So it wants us to set the layout width to 0 dp and the layout height to 0 dp. Let's go ahead and do that here in our app. So, all right. So in the attributes window, let's see where it says layout width and layout height. So layout width, it wants us to go ahead and set to 0 dp. And layout height, it also wants us to set to 0 dp. So, okay. So, we have done that. But we do have a little issue there. But I think I might know what's going on because we probably also need the side constraints really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. And I'm going to go ahead and add the side constraints as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that again to where it wanted us to set the layout width to 0 dp and the layout height to 0 dp. Okay, so alright, so that looks better there. So that issue should be fixed. Alright, so let us go back. And so it says the image view is as wide and as tall as the app screen, but the image is centered inside the image view, and there is a bunch of space above and below the image. Since that doesn't look very attractive, you will adjust the scale type of the image, which says how to size and align the image. Read more about scale type in the developer reference guide. I'll go ahead and also post this link as well into the chat and into the description so that people can be able to reference that as well. And I encourage you to take a look at that at your own time, um, because I think one goal is if you want to be an Android developer, I think you should know every nook and cranny of it so that you can be competitive to the competition, and the employers and clients will select you for your not only your skill but your knowledge of the Android platform. So, all right. So, I wanted to actually say, um, if you want to read more about scale type, so I'm gonna go ahead and um, bear with me. I'm gonna say, if you want to learn more about scale type, reference the link above. Alright. Alrighty. So, I'm going to go ahead and close that. And then your app should now look as shown below. Alright. So, actually, let me go ahead and run it and see if it looks like that for sure or not. So let me go ahead and go to my Android Studio, and let me go ahead and hit the play button, which is the green arrow there, and now it's running. I actually have my emulator down here in the corner, so it's running right now. And alright, let's see what's gonna come up. Alright, that looks good. That looks good. Great. Alright, now let's go back to the lesson. And so now it says find the scale type attribute. You may need to scroll down or search for this attribute. Try setting different values for the scale type to see what they do. Tip: to find a property in the list of all the properties, click on the magnifying glass icon to the right of attributes and begin typing the name of the property. Android Studio will show just the property that can contain that string. So it's saying it's the search function for the attributes. You can use the search to be able to find something faster. When you're done, set the scale type to center crop, because that makes the image fill the screen without distorting it. Alright, let's check that out. So that was cool. So let's go ahead and go back to our Android Studio here, and let's go ahead and let us look for the scale type. Scale type. So here's the scale type. I found it. And then we're going to go ahead. It says we can play with the different ones. Fill start. Oh, okay, so we'll pop up there for fill start, fill end, pop down there. Matrix. I'm not sure. Fit XY. That looks stretched. Fit center, which it looks like what we had before, and center crop. All right, so it wanted us to say center crop. So perfect, we got center crop. But now you can't see your birthday greeting and signature. You'll fix that in the next step. Move the image view behind the text. After making the image view fill the screen, you can't you can't see the text anymore. This is because the image now covers up the text. It turns out that the order of your UI elements matter. You added the text views first, then you added the image view, which means it went on top. When you add views to a layout, they are added at the end of the list of views, and they get drawn in the order they are in the list. The image view was added to the end of the list of views in the constraint layout, which means it's drawn last and draws over the text views. To fix that, you'll change the order of the views and move the image view to the beginning of the list so it's drawn first. In the component tree, click on image view and drag it from the text views to drag it above the text views to just below the constraint layout. A blue line with a triangle appears showing where the image view will go. Drop the image view just below the constraints layout. So it wants us to drag the image view to the last in the list here. So let's go ahead and go to our app here. And then as we can see, we have the image view, which is here. And then it wants us to drag the image view up. So it starts at the bottom and it wants us to drag the image view up. So, alright, so we're going to go ahead and drag this image view up. And so once we drag the image view up, boom, it's drawn first. And then boom, text view 1 and text view 2 is drawn second, which will be on top of the image view. So now we can successfully see our text. Alright, that's wonderful. The image view should now be first in the list below the constraint layout, with the text views after it. Both the Happy Birthday Sam and the From Emma text should now be visible. Ignore the warning for the missing content description for now. Congratulations, you've added an image to your Android app. Awesome. And let me see, it was saying that inside the Android Studio, there are these yellow things here saying hard-coded text, and image without content description, which is really an optional thing here, but it does have a few warnings, and I have a feeling that we will be fixing those. Alright. 4. Adopt good coding practices. When you added the text views in the previous code lab, Android Studio flagged them with warning triangles. In this step, you'll fix these warnings and also fix the warning on the image view. Translating. When you write apps, it's important to remember they may be translated into another language at some point. As you learned in an earlier code lab, a string is a sequence of characters like Happy Birthday Sam. A hard coded string is one that is written directly in the code of your app. Hard coded strings make it more difficult to translate your app into other languages and harder to reuse a string in different places in your app. You can deal with those issues by extracting strings into a resource file. That means instead of hard coding the string in your code, you put the string into a file, give it a name, and then use the same name whenever you want to use that string. The name will stay the same even if you change the string or translate it to a different language. 1. Click on the orange triangle next to the text view with Happy Birthday Sam. Android Studio opens a window with more information and a suggested fix. You may need to scroll down to see the suggested fix. So says click on the orange triangle next to the text view. Android Studio opens a window with more information. And you may need to scroll down to see the suggested fix. Click the fix button. Android Studio opens the extract resource dialog. In this dialog, you can customize what your string resource is called and some details on how to store it. The resource name is what the string is going to be called. The resource value will be the actual string itself. So, all right. So, let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and go to our Android Studio. And so it wants us to click on our warning here. All right. So we have our warn. However, it says hard-coded string. Click the badge for details. All right. All right. Okay, so you can see the details. Also, if you double click on it and it brings this up, let me see. Okay. All right. Let's see. So when we go to code, it brings up the code tab. And then this highlighted thing is also the same thing as the warning. And it says hard coded string, Happy Birthday Sam, should use @string resource. So to essentially do what the tutorial wanted, we can actually hover over this inside the code tab, hover over this, and then we can say extract string resource. So this is the suggested fix. So boom. So the resource name is going to pretty much be the label of, what this is going to be called. And the actual thing that's going to display is Happy Birthday Sam. So we'll go ahead and hit OK right there. It's going to make a file called strings.xml. For enterprise development and professional development, strings.xml is pretty important so that you don't have to hard code your different text inside your application, and you'll have one place, one source of truth where this text exists, so that if you have to quickly, of course, Android has to quickly switch out the text for a different language, then that makes things a lot easier. So, all right, I'm going to hit OK. All right. So it made a string resource. And now instead of just having the hard coded text, it references the variable that we created in the string resource file, which I hit command on Mac and then clicked on it, and then it took me to the string resource file, which is here. And this is the string resource file that it created for us. That here is the name, and here is the actual thing that it will display in the actual application. So, all right. So we fixed that, and I'm pretty sure it's going to want us to do the same thing for the other text as well. So let's go ahead and do the same thing that we just did for the other text as well. So I'm going to go to my Android Studio. I'm going to go back to the file I just went to. If you're wondering how I did that, I hit Option Command and then left arrow key, and that usually takes you back to the last file that you touched inside the Android Studio. And so I'm back here, and so we fixed the one, and now we have to fix the other. So here's the other text view where it says from Emma, and then I'm going to highlight my mouse over that, and then I'm going to go to extract string resource, and then boom, it does the same thing for us here. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and so it automatically added the string resource of the signature here. So whenever we want to edit these texts, we have to make sure to come to the strings XML and edit them here now, instead of directly on the UI, because we set these string variables to be referenced from this file. So we have done that. So check your app for accessibility. Following good code practices for accessibility allows all of your users, including users with disabilities, to navigate and interact with your app more easily. Android provides many tools for users. For example, TalkBack is the Google screen reader included on Android devices. TalkBack gives users spoken feedback so that users can use their device without looking at the screen. Read more about accessibility in the developer reference guide. So this link is about TalkBack, which is the voiceover for the accessibility. And these things are important because sometimes, like an employer might ask you, how do you make the app more accessible? What are certain techniques that you can do? And they might even say, what is TalkBack? You never know. So to be able to do further study is not in vain, I would say. So I'm going to go ahead and take this link, TalkBack, and I'm going to go ahead and go to post it in the chat. And also, of course, I'm going to post it in the description as well. So, about the voice over called TalkBack related to Android accessibility. Alright, so I posted that. Now, moreover, it also has a developer reference guide here for if you want to learn more about building accessible apps. So, going to also post this in the chat and later post it in the description for everyone to reference. And this is for more about making accessible apps. Alright, I posted that one in the chat as well. Let us continue the lesson. I'm gonna go ahead and close that. Close that. Close that. Alright. And now, Android Studio provides hints and warnings to help you make your app more accessible. In the component tree, notice the orange triangle next to the image view that you added earlier. If you hover the pointer over it, you'll see a tooltip with a warning about missing content description attribute on the image. And content description can help make your app more usable with TalkBack by defining the purpose of the UI element. However, the image in this app is only included for direct decorative purposes. Instead of setting the content description that is announced to the user, you can just tell TalkBack to skip the image view by setting its important for accessibility attribute to no. In the component tree, select the image view in the attributes window. In the all attributes section, find important for accessibility and set it to no. The orange triangle next to the image view disappears. Alright, let's go ahead and do that really quick. Which, the lessons tells you to do that, but I mean, I would think if, I was blind or something, I would want to know if there's like a pretty background image on there. Well, I mean, you could put the text like background image of a purple cupcake on top of a turquoise wallpaper, wrapping paper looking image so that they can at least be able to visualize that in their mind instead of not having nothing. But I'm going to go ahead and do what they say so that we can know how to set the important for accessibility. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go back to our here, and then I'm gonna click, instead of code here, I'm gonna go to design, and we're back to our design, and then I'm gonna click here, and then it has the red arrow here, and it's about the missing content description, but they don't want us to set that. They want us to look for something called what is it called, guys? It is important for accessibility. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to go ahead and go back to our Android Studio. And we're going to go ahead and look for that. And then here it is. And then they said they wanted us to set that to no. So I'm going to go ahead and set that to no. And I'm going to go ahead and press or click out of there. Okay. So now we no longer have any warnings, which is a good thing. And we have our birthday card here. All right, let us continue. All right, it says run your app again to make sure it still works. Congratulations, you added an image to your happy birthday app. followed the accessibility guidelines and made it easier to translate to other languages. So yeah, that's also like one reason why I like to follow these code labs, so that it can show you best practices straight from the developers of Android. And so I'm going to go ahead and run our app and see how it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and run it here. All right, perfect. Happy birthday, Sam, from Emma. And then we have this nice little picture in the background with the cupcake. Awesome. It looks pretty good, guys. And if you've got this far, congratulations on your birthday card app here and being able to learn the best practices on the way to developing it. So, all right. And also, if you would like the source code for this project, you can go to this link here, and I'll also post this in the chat and the description, and I'll leave it to an exercise for you to be able to go to GitHub and download the appropriate code on your own. So if you need it, and so I'm gonna go ahead and post this to our chat here in the here. So boom, and above link is the solution to our code lab today. All right, perfect. All right, so let's see what else they have to say. Summary. The Resource Manager in Android Studio helps you add and organize your images and other resources. An image view is a UI element for displaying images in your app. Image views should have a content description to help make your app more accessible. Text that is shown to the user, like the birthday greeting, should be extracted into a string resource to make it easier to translate to your app into other to translate string resources make it easier to translate your app into other languages. And then these are the learn more links. I encourage you guys to go to these additional links to if you want to learn more about like the vocabulary for Android basics and Kotlin, resource manager, image view, accessibility, supporting different languages, and getting started with GitHub, which this will probably be pretty important if you don't know what you're doing with GitHub at this moment. So, and actually, one day I should do a video or a stream about GitHub so that people can be able to follow along with a tutorial. All right. And so, and now this has a section about practice on your own. Practicing are optional. They provide an opportunity for you to practice what you've learned in this code lab. So I'm going to give you guys this exercise to do on your own. And, so you can expand your knowledge here and get your additional practice. So I'm going to actually go ahead and let me see. Well, let me see. I'm going to go ahead and post this in the description. Hopefully this section will come straight up, the practice on your own. But if it doesn't come straight up, then remember it's step number 8. And that's where you can do your additional practice if you so choose. So I'm going to go ahead and also post this in the chat above. Link for additional optional practice related to this code lab. All right. Awesome. All right, guys. And that's going to conclude the collab that we have done for today. Congratulations if you've made it this far, and I appreciate you guys watching this video. Please come back again and watch some more. Subscribe to the channel. Please comment if you have any questions or comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay coding, guys. Stay coding.